Hello indie game fans, the precision platformer or splatformer as I like to call it, is a subset of the platforming genre which can be challenging, frustrating, but ultimately also rewarding when you beat a level. So here's a look at some of the best, excluding frustration platformers or games that make you rage, which I've covered in this video linked above. Let's begin with Levelhead, a build-your-own platformer that comes to us from developer Butterscotch Shenanigans, who you might know from the survival crafting game Crashlands. Although the quality of user-made levels does vary, levels designed by the developers themselves are pretty good, although I do feel that the physics are a little floaty in this. The newest entry on this list is Garlic, a precision platformer that was released in June this year, starring, strangely enough, an onion-headed boy. It has you climbing a secret tower in order to get to the cyber goddess at the top, having a nice variety of environments and different traps and enemies along the way. What I do love is the visuals, having quite the impressive use of colour and shading as compared to the 1-bit black and white look shown in earlier trailers. The main mechanic is a ton of different dashes and jumps, allowing you to effortlessly chain them together in succession by dashing into walls, floors, and even ceilings, where the controls in this are very tight and feel very good. The developers themselves say that this is inspired by Super Meat Boy, Celeste and Gato Roboto, so excellent games in their own right, so of course this gets a mention. One of the most amazing looking games on this list is Octahedron Transfixed Edition, a trippy and stunning title both visually and auditorily. The main mechanic here is the ability to summon platforms that move, allowing you to surf on them, but they do decay after a period of time, which adds a level of challenge to the platforming. On top of that, other platforms do appear and disappear on the beat, adding a rhythm element to this, and there are even ways to attack enemies using said platforms, making this quite the unique experience with a look. If you enjoy videos like this, smack that like button and drop a comment below on what you would like to see next. One of the most popular entries in the space is Geometry Dash, a title that may change the definition a little bit in that your character automatically moves and you just have to time your jumps to the beat. However, the sheer variety of traps and level designs here is wonderful, with, let's just say, a trick or two up its sleeve. If you have not played this, I would implore you to give it a go, where this version on Steam does even include a built-in level editor, so that means plenty more user creations to extend the life of this game. If any of you spent any time on Flash Games websites in the early 2000s, I'm sure that you'll be familiar with NPLUSPLUS, one of the OGs of the internet, where you play as a little stick figure ninja man that has to avoid all sorts of hazards and traps in order to get to the end of the level. The most interesting aspect of this is that it touts itself as a momentum-based platformer, so things like slopes, physics, gravity and more do come into play, and is one of the most challenging, if visually minimalistic entries that's worth a look. The current version is the Ultimate Edition, containing 4,340 handmade levels, which means hundreds of hours of gameplay, and having been exactly one of those people on the Flash Games websites that I mentioned earlier, it pleases me to no end to see how far this has come. You cannot talk about precision platformers without mentioning Super Meat Boy, perhaps the title that kicked off the entire thing, and come to think of it, it's already 11 years old at this point, where its influence on the genre and indie games in general has been absolutely massive. you play as a little meat man, having to save the love of your life, bandaged girl from the evil Dr. Fetus, having to make your way through level after level of insane contraptions and deadly traps. Like NPLUSPLUS mentioned earlier, momentum does play a key factor, where a running start may mean the difference between making a jump or falling to your death. There are optional bandages in every level, which are the extra difficult collectibles which will test your skills, with plenty of secrets and alternate levels in the overworld map. The squishy nature of meat and the little blood trails adds a degree of flavour to this game, and while the latest entry is Super Meat Boy Forever, I do still have a soft spot for the original. A title that I absolutely love is Electronic Super Joy, one of the earliest precision platformers that I played that simply oozes style due to the vibrant colours, silhouetted look, tight controls, interesting mechanics, and absolutely killer soundtrack. The writing and story is irreverent and funny, while Hero's butt was stolen, so it's off on a grand adventure to get it back. I love the variety in mechanics here, where a new one is introduced every couple of levels, but the feature that I love the most is the instantaneous butt stomp maneuver, used both to destroy enemies as well as to land on whatever platform is beneath you, just like a Tetris drop move. The music and sound design is also on point, being one of the soundtracks that I actually bothered to track down and listen to outside of the game. If you're curious, there is a sequel titled Electronic Super Joy 2, which is free for the most part, with additional levels via paid DLC, where both of these do get 2 thumbs up from me. A criminally overlooked title is Slime Sun Super Slime Edition, a fantastic minimalist pixel art entry where a hero has been swallowed by a giant worm only to find an entire city in the belly of the beast. As can be seen, the colour palette is intentionally limited, using green, white, red and blue only, which I fear may have worked against this game, but as a result, the levels in this are pretty easy to read. New mechanics galore in this game, especially with each new level set, and is one of the most value for money entries since the developer did release 3 expansion packs, namely Blackbird's Kraken, Sheeple's Sequel and the Level Editor Creator, all of which have been packaged into one for a low price. There are optional apples to collect, some of which can be quite devious, but the aspect that I love the most is the characters and the city. As mentioned, there is an entire world in here to explore, consisting of vendors for cosmetics, ramen shops, and even an NPC or two that may hide some secrets, so it's the full package and I cannot miss for platformer fans. One of the most impressive recent entries is The End is Nigh, where you play as a little blob creature in the post-apocalypse. When your video game console breaks, it's up to you to make a new friend of your own out of the pieces of the remnants of people along the way. If you cannot already tell, yes, this is an Edmund Macmillan game due to the theme and collectibles, and in many ways, it's a spiritual successor to Super Meat Boy that forever is not. This trailer helpfully explains the basics: moving, jumping, hanging, swimming, falling, and of course, dying. But more than that, it does have an interesting overall structure. Rather than having distinct levels that you complete, this is all one interconnected world, so you do feel like you're on a grand, if depressing, adventure. Still, tight controls and wonderful sense of exploration makes this a must-play. And of course, I think that enough has been said about Celeste at this point, but if, somehow, you're not in the know, this is the precision platformer to get due to the challenge, themes, and sheer amount of content. What starts off as a simple journey to climb a mountain quickly turns into so much more, with some sections that may make you question the character's mental state and inner demons of literally having to deal with your dark side, or the ultimate theme of not giving up. Heartwarming narrative aside, it's quite the challenge, with the elusive strawberry collectibles and extra B and C side levels, which are even more insane. It has done tremendously well both critically and commercially, making it a no-brainer pick, taking the #1 spot. For more platformers of the action variety, watch these videos and I will see you after the jump.